Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason and the channel is Everyday Card Collector. In today's video, I'm going to show some more cards of some of the more collectible players within the golden era of baseball, 50s and 60s. So 2-3 weeks ago, I did a video about the Big Four, what I consider to be the Big Four of that era, the golden era. And I picked out Mantle, Mays, Aaron, and Clemente. So it kind of had me thinking, what would be the next tier? And I don't necessarily want to say tier as far as player. I kind of want to say just collectability wise and maybe hobby wise. There's a lot of things that I put into picking my next group of players. And it's not an exact science by any means. And again, it's only opinion. But if I chose those four as the prominent, most collectible players within the hobby of that particular era, who would the next group be? And I came up with 5 additional players. And some of them are kind of what I would consider cheating. And we'll get into that a little bit when I start showing my items. So I do have Playing Days items of all of the next players. I picked 5 for this particular video of what I would consider the next level of Hall of Famers of the golden era worth collecting. Popularity, I kind of just put that all into my head. Like I said, there's no exact science to this. I was just thinking, okay, whose prices are just under that 4th tier or that 1st tier? Who seems to be popular within the hobby? Who are players? What do people gravitate to these players when they're collecting? And I think this would be the next group. And we'll get into one of them in particular, and when I show what I have, because that can be argued. And again, this is only opinion. So again, I picked my top 4. This is what I would consider the next group of players that are pretty prominent in our hobby and pretty prominent in collecting. And I just wanted to kind of get that opinion out there, or my opinion out there. You guys let me know what you think. Again, I picked 5. So if you have a group of 4 or 5, let me know if you agree, disagree, or who you would put in your second group. We'll just call it the second group. The first group being the Big Four, which we already talked about, and then this is going to be my second grouping of 5. Doesn't mean they're any less of a player than the first 4. It's just simply kind of how I took a lot of things in kind of unscientifically and just weighed it out in that fashion. So we'll get the camera turned around. Don't have a ton of stuff, but I'll show you what I have of each of these players, and we'll show some cards and have a good time talking about them. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so as I mentioned, we'll get into the next group of golden era Hall of Famers I feel are pretty prominent or in the hobby and worth collecting and are significant into what we enjoy within this hobby if you're a Hall of Fame person, if you enjoy collecting Hall of Famers. So again, a couple weeks ago, I did my video, The Big Four, and it was Mantle, Mays, Clemente, and Aaron. Those were the 4 that I felt are the most prominently collected and biggest part of our hobby for that particular 2 decades of baseball, being the 50s and 60s. The first 2 players I'm going to show here are a little bit of cheating. That's why I actually picked 5. They came into baseball just before the golden era, and and one of them considerably earlier than the golden era. But I think even their later issued cards are worth collecting and these players are certainly worth discussing. Again, I didn't rank my Big Four and my second group here based on who was the better baseball player. That's simply just it's not a fact, because quite honestly, the next 5 guys I'm going to show today, some of them are probably as good, if not better, than the players that I mentioned in the Big Four. But this is kind of cheating, and I'm only going to show 3 cards. So the first guy I want to mention, because I only have one of his Playing Days cards, is Jackie Robinson. So obviously we know he came in before he started baseball before what I would call the golden era, 1950, if we include that as the start of the golden era. But he's got a run of cards that go from 50 to 56. So he stops at 56. This happens to be his 55 tops. and I absolutely love it. But I think he's definitely kind of have to be included in this conversation, just based on who he was, what he did, his prominence in American history, let alone baseball, Major League Baseball. So I think, he's definitely kind of that top tier Hall of Famer, if you will. And I'm, again, Big Four versus this group, it's basically the same group to me, guys. It's very difficult to say Jackie Robinson is, not quite as collectible as Hank Aaron. That's just silly. Again, this is all opinion. Quite frankly, as I'm sitting here talking about this, Jackie could have certainly been in the Big Five, and I could have made him the fifth in the Big Five. So I kind of cheated with him because he didn't have a tremendously long career in the golden era. We're talking 6 years. But that's the thing when you start having these internal debates in your head. Who do you include? So I felt like if I'm going to talk about the next group of 5 prominent Hall of Famers, if they played anywhere in that era, he's got to be one that gets included. And the next guy is kind of the same thing. So he's got, if we're calling 1950 the start of the golden era, he's got cards from 50 to 58. So he went 2 more years than Jackie, and he's actually got some later cards as a manager, and as Ted Williams. So again, this is an actual 1941 double play of Ted Williams and Joe Cronin. This isn't even a golden era card, right? This is prior to the golden era, if we're calling 1950 the start of the golden era. So, but certainly, in my opinion, he's a player from 50 to 58, has a run of cards, and a beautiful run of cards. I love this Topps run. He's got the Flair run too as well, which is 59 if I'm not mistaken. I don't have any, so correct me if I'm wrong on that. Here's his 56. Absolutely love this card. Probably this and the Mantle are my 2 favorite cards of this set. I think it's a beautiful set. I think his 54s are gorgeous. His 2 Topps 54s are beautiful cards as well. So I kind of cheated with Ted and Jackie. So there are 2 of my 5, if you will. But I mean, you're getting into semantics, right? There's 2 other guys that I'm going to show here that started before the golden era. So there's only 2 players that actually started and actually they ran past the golden era, some of them. There's 1 player that ran the entire gamut of the golden era, if you will. So the next player I'm going to show is, again, he started before the golden era, but I think he's got to run up until, if I'm talking Topps, I believe 65 as a player, if I'm not mistaken. And again, correct me if I'm wrong on that, guys, in the comments. I won't get offended. This is his 63 post serial, and it's Yogi Berra. You can see in the back there's some glue and some schmutz there, but I absolutely love this card. I really believe Yogi's prominence in baseball and what he did with the Yankees. I know it's kind of silly to say it, but I feel like it's sometimes almost overlooked. Because he played with so many great players, DiMaggio, Mantle. There's just so many fantastic players coming out of that era. But Yogi's a phenomenal player, and I really believe he is ranked up there as one of the elite Hall of Famers from this particular era, being the golden era. So yeah, his run goes from 50 to, I believe, 65. So that's a pretty long run if you were going 50 to 69 kind of deal. Next player, again, started prior to the 1950 season, if we're counting that as the beginning of the golden era. And an extremely underappreciated player in the hobby, in my opinion, Stan Musial. And being a Cardinals fan, he is one of my favorite players to collect, and I don't have a ton of his stuff. So his Topps run goes to 63, I believe, is his last Topps run. His first Topps card is 1958, his 1958 All-Star, which I'll show here. So he didn't have a tremendous run with Topps, but he does have several Bowmans. He is part of the Leaf set, although the Leaf set is 49, right? So I guess I'm not counting that as part of the quote-unquote golden era. But you'll find his Topps cards are pretty reasonably priced. Sorry, guys, couldn't get that out. But you know, as some of his older stuff starts to get a little pricey. His 48 Bowman, which most consider to be his rookie card, although he played 3 years prior to that, if I'm not mistaken, that can get pricey. His Leaf card's pretty pricey. Even his 49 Bowman isn't cheap. But this stuff, you know, again, this is a dual player card, Mays and Musial. But this stuff, his Topps run, you could pick up at a pretty decent price. And then there's his 61 Topps. So Musial definitely hits the list. So we got Yogi, we got Musial, we got Jackie, we got Ted. And I'm terrible at counting, guys, because I said there are 5 players and I actually have 6 here. So I will amend that by saying there are 6. Next player I'm going to show I only have 2 items for. He did cover the gamut of the Golden Era. So he played from 55 to 64. And that's Sandy Koufax. And you would think in your head, man, how do you include a pitcher? Well, he's extremely collectible, guys. And his prices are, you know, this kind of stuff, the 64 is pretty affordable, but his rookie card and some of his other items get a little pricey. So if you're taking price into account, if you're including that as to how you're going to tier these guys off, he's probably one of the higher priced pitchers of the Golden Era, if not the highest priced pitcher of the Golden Era. Debatable with possibly Bob Gibson, maybe, I would think. But yeah, so he hits my list of 6. I kept saying 5, guys, and there's 6 because Sandy is the 5th. I will kind of zoom out of here. We've seen this. So there's my Aurora Vision record, 64 Aurora Vision of them as well. So those are my 2 Playing Days items, and both happen to be from the year 64, which they pumped out a ton of sets, right? There was so much stuff came out in 64. Yeah, those are it. And I think he's deserving of being in that second level / top tier Hall of Famers who you want to add to the collection and are collectible. And the last guy was the easiest decision for me, guys. He's another one who covers the gamut and goes beyond 1969 and into the 70s. But quite frankly, another player that if you were picking a Big Four, he could certainly be a Big Four. And I'll start with just a little fun stuff. And that's Ernie Banks. So this is his 1970 booklet that came in packs of the 1970 Topps set. And out of all the players I showed, he's the one I have the most of. I'm from Chicago, so there's no surprise there. But I do want to add more of his stuff to my collection. There's his 62 Topps and a 6.5, SGC 6.5. I love this card. I wasn't a big fan of the 62 set, but what sold me on it is, and you're going to pay up for it, when they're clean like this, they're just beautiful. They're beautiful cards. So there's a 68. I've had this forever, for a long time, and I graded it when I kind of got back into the hobby, but had it ungraded forever. So there he is in a 4. There's his 1960. Beautiful card I picked up at a card show, a local card show not too long ago. And then out of all of the guys that I showed, well, I had it for Ted, and I also have it for Ernie, part of my 56 Hall of Fame room. So you guys know I need to get the Yogi, you know. I need to get the Sandy Koufax because I didn't show those. So those are 2 that need to become part of my Hall of Fame room. And then lastly, we've got Ernie's Aurora Vision. Just a beautiful image. I absolutely love that image of him. I think it's just fantastic. So yeah, guys, this isn't necessarily a list. I'm not necessarily ranking these players. It just kind of crossed my head as to who is next in that group after the Big Four that I named. And I, you know, you could debate that all day long. There's no wrong answer to it. You know, there's a lot that come up, and maybe I'll do another group after this because there are some guys that I wanted to add to this group that I didn't, and that's worth debating and worth talking about. It's fun to talk about that stuff. So it gives me the opportunity to show some cards and cards that I love. Why don't I show? Actually, I'll do that. I haven't showed the 61 in a while. I get to show some cards that I love, talk about players, talk about collecting, and that works out perfect for me. So yeah, this is just a fun video. I'm not even certain what I'm going to name it, guys. You'll see the title because I shot the video first, but you know I'm thinking next group of Hall of Famers within the Golden Era, kind of. We'll figure that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do enjoy this kind of content, please feel free to like and subscribe. And until the next video, we'll talk then, guys. Thanks for jumping on, everybody. Bye-bye.